today we're with Robert Courtney from Robert Courtney and Associates.
Yes.
We've done a few episodes so far on the channel, and some people I know better than others.
Yep.
I've known Robert's brand pretty much since I started in real estate like 8 years ago, right?
Nice.
And so what's funny is, was one thing I wanted to bring up. I remember the yellow logo for a long time, which is no longer there.
Yeah.
But the yellow stuck out. I think you should go back to the yellow. We'll get into that in a minute. I don't want to get sidetracked here to do my intro here. But with Robert, he's been involved with marketing for many years. We were just talking about that when we sat down in Detroit, Metro Detroit,
Yes.
and was one of the pioneers locally to kind of do this marketing stuff before it got so big. And so there's always an overlap with real estate from my perspective. And since then, the last couple years, we've got to know each other a little bit more. I'm very, very impressed with a lot of stuff that you're doing.
Thank you.
The volume in which you're doing it is important. And so anyway, just to kick us off officially, what is Robert Courtney and Associates? Who are you? What's the quick intro there?
First of all, thank you for having me.
Yeah, of course.
Love what you're doing as well. I would say Robert Courtney and Associates is the largest social media management company specifically in the Metro Detroit area. And if someone is out there who wants to challenge that, like, let's go. And I'm not being funny. Like, I'm for real. Like, we are the largest because most of these companies don't really do social media management. You know, they play at social media. They look at a YouTube video and they believe that they're experts. And the reality is 10 years ago when I entered this space, people didn't believe that social media management could even be a thing. Like, there's no way you could build a company on the back of just managing people's social media channels. Right. And also, how do you manage someone else's social media? Like, you don't know what they're going to say. You don't know. So I, from scratch, created systems to allow us to adopt people's voice, which, think about 10 years ago, like, who's thinking about that? And that skill set came from me being a barber. And so in 2004, I started working in a barber shop, and one of the main skills as a barber that is super necessary to exist is that you have to establish who people are in seconds. Right. If I can't connect with you in seconds, my chances of you being a regular customer is slim to none. And so this was a skill set that I didn't even realize I had. And after several years of really just kind of honing in on the difference between maintaining a customer and someone who comes and does a haircut one time, or what we call chair hopped, where they sit in your chair 1 week, sit in the next barber, like, sure, whoever's available. Like, you know, everyone is a certain type of customer when it comes to haircuts. What I realized was I had less chair hoppers when I could establish common ground. Right. And when a person walked through the door back then, and even today, like, when I met him for the first time, it was like formulas and numbers and like all these different things start going off in my head. Right. Because I want to be connected to every person that I meet, you know. And so that's a great segue into who Robert Courtney is. Like, Robert Courtney is the ultimate connector. Like, I don't do a ton of things well. Like, I'm not super talented in a lot of areas. I am talented in understanding the behavior of people online. Like, that is probably my number one skill set. My second skill set is connecting with strangers at a rapidly fast level. And my love and passion for building brands is like kind of at the top of the list too. So I think Malcolm Gladwell was the first person that coined the phrase connector, you know, where people actually pay attention to that term. And I think for business, every successful company needs someone who adopts that connector role. And I think that's who I am at my core.
Yeah, I would argue that real estate agents, loan officers, and most salespeople in a B2C world is definitely their core thing they should be thinking about is being that connector.
Yes.
I think that's critical, right? So being able to understand that, have self-awareness that that's who you are, that's what I'm good at, and then how do I help other people do that, is a direct correlation to marketing. And of course, if you're good at that, then you're going to help these people actually convert into sales, because that's what sales are, is relationships, right? You're connecting
100%.
with that.
I mean, I think, the deeper thing in understanding that I'm a connector is what you said. Like, if I'm going to try to teach a real estate agent, or anybody for that matter, how to be a connector, the first thing that I'm going to talk to them about is being self-aware of who they actually are at their core, right? Because being a connector, the actual magic is in understanding who you are. I can't connect with you if I don't understand me,
right?
So when I understand who you are, the connection happens when I go into myself to say, what aspects of my personality or characteristics of who I am connect with that person.
Right.
And it has to be genuine, right? Like, if you're a real estate agent, but you're also a dad, the real estate agent part don't matter. We connect because we're both dads,
right.
Or if you're in the sports, we can, so it's, do I understand who I am at my core? And if I do, I can connect with anybody as soon as I can establish where the connection is.
And what's beautiful about that is if you're able to explain who you are in that connection as salespeople from a marketing perspective, from the way I think about it, is you're attracting similar like-minded people, right? 100%. So if I'm into golf and I'm into the Lions and I'm into, like, what's a weird thing that I'm into? Golf, Lions, and I love crab legs, okay?
Yes.
And I talk about golf, Lions, and crab legs, and someone else is like, hey, I like golf, I like Lions, I like crab legs. Yeah. Maybe they're more likely to work with Matt Talbot, the real estate agent, than someone who likes strawberry shortcake, although I do like that, ballet, and something else, whatever. I'm just making stuff up, right? And so being able to understand that is important. It's something that is easy to get away from, but the deep-rooted, like, I have a marketing degree, marketing background. I love marketing ever since I learned what it was, similar to you. And so I love what you're saying, because I think it's so right. And being able to be somewhat polarizing is important. Like, this is what I believe, this is what I'm about, and I want to attract those types of people, and I want to be me. And I think it's hard to be truly unique in today's world because people are a little bit scared to go that way.
Absolutely. I mean, marketing, like, just the term marketing and what it means in 2024. And I think we're all somewhat brainwashed around what marketing actually looks like because we've watched TV and radio and looked at billboards our entire lives. And so this has created a perception of what marketing is. And then you have social media, which is not just two-dimensional, right? Like, there's all these layers that we can infuse into a really good marketing campaign or strategy. And so the layers in that is exactly what you just talked about. It's like, I can talk about loving crab legs to the point where you like me because I love crab legs, right? And that relatability is the reason people do business with us. Right. And I don't, like, everyone can, salespeople specifically. And so with real estate, you find a lot of this. We're comfortable with talking about our profession. Like, it's a safe haven. It's a comfort zone. Because all I have to do is get as educated about it as possible, and then I'm just regurgitating facts. And that makes us bland and gray because everybody does it. But if you're going to talk about crab legs, that's personal, and that feels weird, and that makes us uncomfortable. But in the uncomfortable of us explaining that part of our personality is where the connection happens.
It's human.
It's human. Exactly. And so all I teach, like, the reason I get booked a lot to go and talk to agents and brokerages and do workshops and all these things is because most people won't do it, but they know they need to. It's like a gym membership, honestly. It's like everybody know they need to work out. And they will buy a $40, $50 membership and pay it in perpetuity. Right. And never go to the gym.
Yeah. Keeps you very profitable.
Yeah, exactly. So, and it's not like the message isn't right. And I will never act like I don't understand that people won't probably do the things I talk about. But I'm never going to stop talking about it because the one person that does it will see the benefits from it.
Right.
So.
I think it's a direct overlay with me as a team leader, broker owner. Like, we talk about the same things. It's the same it's the same story, right? It's like, okay, you need to do marketing, right? For us, we talk about pillars of success. What is something you're going to do on a regular basis that's a pillar of success that allows you to succeed at a high level? So it could be like, people say, okay, my pillar of success is social media. I'm like, way too big. My pillar needs to be something smaller. Right. It needs to be something of a very specific strategy on a very specific platform and doing it on a consistent basis, right? So talking through the pillar and what that means, again, sometimes I do it till my head turns blue. Then to get people over that hump is a whole nother story. So I have two questions for you to follow up with that. The first one is, you mentioned you put a lot of systems and processes in place to help make you a better marketer, to help grow people's brands. Yep. What do you do, or what are the top couple tricks that people could do to start to understand their attractive character, as Russell Brunson says, or different people in marketing? What can they do to start to kind of internalize that? That would be my first question. And then my second question I lost. Let's just start with that.
Okay. So what we found is the simplest way for people to tap into who they are on a level to where it becomes magnetic, the attraction part. The easier you can explain the aspects of your personality that are authentically you, the faster people are drawn to you. So we do that by asking 3 simple questions. 1, what is your passion? Like, what is the thing that you would do, whether you got paid for it or not, every single day? The second question is, what is your promise? How will you deliver to everybody in your life? And that's not just people that you deal with on a professional level. That's your mom, your sister, your friends. Like, what is your promise to the world? And number 3 is, what is your plan? And so what are some very tactical things that you can give to a person in order for them to be able to execute on whatever it is that they're trying to accomplish? And I think if the average person sits down, especially people that has had some success, especially because that's really who we're talking about. If you're looking for systems and you're looking for a way to be more magnetic or to leverage social media or marketing, usually it's because you've tasted it. Mm-hmm. You've tasted a little success, and now it's like, how can I refine it? Like, how can I get it to the next level? This is where this strategy becomes optimal, right? So if you take some time to answer these questions very intentionally, very thoughtfully, and you get to the point to where someone asks you at a random networking event, what is your passion? And you can answer it in a 15, 30-second elevator response, you're winning.
Sure.
And the average person, maybe 1 out of 20 people you ask that question, they can just respond, right? So we train people on how to be able to deliver that. And then and this isn't a overnight thing.
Sure.
Like, this is like 3 months, 6 months, 9 months of redefining that answer, because if you think about it for a week, you're going to have one answer. You think about it for a year, that answer will evolve and it will change and it will become more polished, right? And so that's kind of like our foundational piece, especially for personal brand building. And I lean heavy into personal brand because, if the average person is thinking about marketing, usually when people say marketing, they're saying social media awareness, right? Like, those two have become synonymous, where marketing is not social media, right? Like, marketing is a umbrella and social media is one of the legs up underneath that umbrella.
Sure.
Right? And so that always needs to be clarified. But when you think about social media, the driver of activity is typically in personal branding. The biggest brands in the world are led by humans who have strong personal brands. And then whatever they put their hand on is probably going to be successful because there's so many people invested in the person. And for whatever reason, these algorithms have basically adjust it to how people respond. Like, I mean, that's basically what the algorithm is, right? It's like a mirror. It's just a reflection of who we are. And so based on human behavior, it has trained the algorithm to respond to people specifically. And so we see in the hundreds of accounts that we work with, the trends basically say, if there's a leader or individual or person at the front of the ship, the brand grows faster, the awareness happens quicker, the engagement is higher. Like, all these metrics point to personal brand being at the forefront. And so if you're just starting and you want to push back on the idea of putting yourself out there, then you have to be okay with the idea that social media might not be the number one marketing tool for you.
I also think there's other ways too sometimes. So I think in today's world, like, video is so at the forefront, and it's definitely the quickest way to succeed. But I think that there's a lot of people that are doing interesting stuff with, like, text.
Well, why? Why though? Like, why is video?
Well, it's just that humans, 80% of our sensory is based off what we see.
That's it.
So
that's it.
But there are other ways, so I don't want to get away from that. Like, you could be really good at writing articles and blogging. Like, that's, people say that's gone, but if you're good enough and you really like writing and you put your passion into it, that could also work. So I think there's some fun ways to do it. I'm excited with, like, I've been playing around with, like, the new AI. Like, I have a complete AI of myself right now.
Yeah,
so like being able to, a lot of agents are like, I don't want to be on camera. I was like, okay, what if I make an AI of you and then you just type what you want? Is this going to, like, make the video of you anyway? There's ways to have fun with it, but I think that's 100% right. I think of, like, the Hermosis, Gary Vee. I think of Oprah. Yeah. Like, Oprah can do anything she wants. She can write a blog today and, like, millions of people are going to read her blog because the personal brand is so deep for so many years. Like, that's just what it is. And I think that's super important to be thinking about it. And it doesn't have to be at scale. People think, like, if I'm building a personal brand, I want to do it to sell stuff, then it needs to be at scale. I need 100,000 followers. No, you just need the right 30 people to follow you. You don't have to make it this huge thing. You don't have to run millions of dollars of ads and have millions of people see you. You have to have the right people see you in the right marketplace. And if you're into knitting and cats and whatever, then put that out there, because, like, a lot of people that are into knitting and cats probably aren't putting that out there as much as they should. As real estate agents, loan officers, whatever you're selling. And if they did, I think more people would be attracted to it, which I'm guilty of it myself. I'm thinking through this. I'm like, there's so many ideas that are popping in my head right now of, like, I need to lean into that more, because it is easy to get caught up in the mundane, and it is easy to get caught up into what we agree to. So, like, on our team, we are very, very heavy on social, and very heavy on social when it comes to advertising our listings. Our goal as an organization is to reach 5 times as many people as our competitors for each listing. That's a very bold statement. I think that we do. Pretty darn close. It's a hard one to kind of compare and contrast too. But I know we reach 5 times more than 98% of our competitors, without a doubt. And so if we do that on a consistent basis, that's good. That's something I committed to. But then it's also easy to just be like house, listing. And, like, where did Matt go? He used to do fun stories. He used to do this stuff. He used to talk about crab legs, whatever it is, right? And being able to tie that in. So it's always a good reminder, which is why hiring a marketing agency can really help you with that, because you're getting away from the brand. You're kind of missing the point here, and we need to focus on that.
It's always more than one way to skin a cat. So,
Exactly.
I mean, you find something that
My operations manager hates it when I say that. She grew up in Puerto Rico. She doesn't understand sayings that I say. She's like, what does that mean? I'm like, there's a lot of ways to skin a cat. She's like, that doesn't make any sense. I'm like, I don't know. That's how it's
we sometimes use phrases that we probably should do the research on.
Exactly.
I'm like, it doesn't offend anybody, but
exactly.
You find a system that works. It would make 0 sense to not use it. Right. But everything that I talk about is from a thorough understanding of what the market is trending toward right now. Like, I spend 5 o'clock, 5:30 to 7 o'clock, 7:30 every morning just trying to figure out what's next, what's happening, what are people saying, what are the experts saying. Like, I am ingrained in this world, right? So I'm speaking more from a standpoint of what's going to give brands and individuals the best, most optimal opportunity for the fastest traction, engagement, etc. And so that's not to say, if you're out there watching, that these are the only ways to get it done. Like, you could be cold calling and be the top agent. You could be sending out postcards in the mail and be the top agent. Like, you can crush in a lot of different ways. However, if we're going to compare and talk about who are doing it on a billionaire level, like high figure billionaires, and we're talking about Elon, and we're talking about Oprah, and we're talking about like some of these like these extreme figures, that's my North Star. Right. And so like, and obviously I don't have aspirations of being that, but what are they doing? Like, what are their strategies? Like, what are trends that the best in the world? If I'm trying to be a basketball player, I'm looking at Kobe, I'm looking at LeBron, I'm looking at Michael, right? Like, the blueprint is in the people that do it the best. And so if we're talking about marketing and we're talking about social media, personal brands are leading these huge companies. Like, these are huge brands, but they also lead huge companies.
Sure.
And so with that as my North Star, this is what I try to help smaller businesses understand on a micro level. Like, yes, you're not Oprah, you're not Elon, but what framework can we pull from that we can maybe do for you to be the Oprah or the Elon of your city, or the Oprah or the Elon of your area? You know what I'm saying? And this is about your bottom line, so if we want to move the needle for your bottom line, and we understand that the billionaires of the world is following this framework, then I feel like the proof is in the pudding, so that's kind of like the thought process behind it. If I'm going to be an agency, a local, regional, eventually national agency, I want to teach the strategies that the biggest and the best are doing. And so those are the strategies that we put out there.
So you're a true practitioner, which is something like I'm a big Gary Vee guy. I nerd out over marketing all day. So like you're a true practitioner, which is so super important. So you said from 5:30 to 7:30 you're doing research.
Yes.
And I think that's what a lot of people also miss.
And I'm in accounts.
It's like you gotta people like consume, but you gotta see like what are they doing and why is it working? Why am I consuming this, right?
Yeah.
Even with ads in general, like why am I getting this ad? What ads do I click on? Why did I click on it? What is the process that they set up, and how do I integrate that myself? Yes. And I think with partnering with someone like yourself, and then having that correlation of starting to think about it from that mindset, most people, marketing is not natural. Yeah. Like for me, I grew up and I was always supposed to go to college. They're like, you go to college, that's what you do. I'm like, okay, cool. Yeah. So I'm like, what do I do? I go to college. I'm like, what do I do? They're like, you're like, what, you want to like study something? I'm like, business. Both my parents own businesses. I was like, I guess I'll run a business, so business school, that's what I want. And they're like, what do you want to do with it? I was like, I don't know. They're like, there's different types of business, right? I was like, all I know is back in the day we had to sell stuff, right? That was always our goal. My parents owned small businesses. My mom owned an antique shop. My dad owned a par 3 golf course growing up, and we just had to get people in the door to buy stuff. Like that was the game. And this is before social media and everything. So they're like, well, you got to try out different types of business. So finally I took a marketing class. I was like, that's business. Like everything else didn't make sense. Like sales, accounting, I didn't care about finance. Like I understand numbers are important. That's pretty intuitive for me.
Right.
But marketing, I was like, that's where business happens. Now, like you said, this is huge umbrella, right? So you have print marketing, you have sales, which is technically under a marketing umbrella. You have advertising, you have PR. Now you have social media, and like, where does this overall umbrella, and where is the market going? So what you're saying in today's world is social media is the next frontier. And taking words from Gary Vee, you're almost looking for that underpriced attention is what he said. What's working? What kind of gives you that level up, right?
Yep.
So what gives you that, okay, if I run this ad or if I run a reel in this way with this format, I'm going to get more followers if that's what my goal is, right? Or what gives me more sales funnel that leads to a sale. And so anyway, marketing's fun because it's never ending. And I think what's funny is people are like, I'm not good at marketing. They're like, I don't know how to do it. I don't want to do it, blah, blah, blah. But then that same person on their personal stuff is over here putting out an Instagram post and taking 25 minutes to figure out how to make sure the filter's right. Yeah. That's marketing. Yeah. They don't even get it. Everyone does it. Like they're like social media. It's like personal brand is like everyone has a personal brand. Yep. It's either on the internet or it's not. But either way, your shirt you put on in the morning, right? How you do your hair, what you're wearing, how you're saying things. All that is a personal brand. Are you going to lean into that for your benefit and to try to build a good personal brand, or do you not care and you want to be a couch potato that looks like a slob?
Right.
So it's like, which one do you want to lead into? And I think it's super, super important.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you want to break down what you said even further, what is marketing typically called if you're going to school?
Advertising?
Communication.
Oh, communication. Yeah, that's a whole nother one.
Yeah. And
Common
so
degree.
even if you're applying for a marketing job, typically they call it communication.
Sure.
And at its core, that's what marketing is. It's communication. And I use the phrase conversations a lot because I feel like that resonates with people more than communication for whatever reason, but it's literally the same thing.
Right.
And my objective when it comes to clients, when it comes to myself, when it comes to my team, is how many conversations can I have across my platforms on a daily basis? Like, that's literally the goal. The more there's a direct, like a literal line connected to the amount of conversations that you have and the amount of conversions that you make. Conversations equal money.
Yes.
Like, that's what it breaks down to. And so when you think about traditional marketing or communication, you think about radio and you think about advertise or billboards and you think about TV, it was one way.
Right.
Communication.
It's one direction rather than bi-directional.
Correct. And that's why social media is so powerful, because social media has opened up the opportunity for there to be two-way communication with the world, like globally, right? So I think that's extremely powerful. And I think from your standpoint, as someone who wasn't sure and someone who tapped into business and tapped into these different marketing classes or what have you, I feel like you're a communicator at heart. Like, you like explaining things, like you like talking about things. That is the power. And that's the power that everyone has that they fail to realize. Like, if you get good at articulating who you are and what you do, you win the game. Like, that's it. And that it requires practice. Like, you can't just automatically be good at it. And in our mind, we formulate thoughts and ideas and sentences, but saying it out our mouth is a skill, And so we have this perception of like how we're supposed to sound because they listen to people like me and you, or they watch Gary Vee, or they watch TV and they see people doing it so well. What they don't know is that person, before they got on TV, rehearsed the same thing 1,000 times. And then they went on TV and they said it like it was natural.
Right.
And so what people need to understand is that to be good at marketing, or to embrace your personal brand and to be good at it, you have to practice it.
Sure.
Like, you have to practice it. And the more you practice it, the better you become. And now it's not marketing anymore. You're just being yourself really good.
So one thing that this is a takeaway for people back home, if this helps you out. This is a new thing that I'm on that I think would have been very helpful for me along the journey, and I'm still using it. So people a lot of times are scared, like, I don't want to get on social media, and they don't feel like they have learned enough of this skill set, whatever that means to be. So let's use real estate, right?
Yep.
They're like, okay, I'm a new agent. I can't get on social. I don't really know what I'm talking about yet. Yep. And so my answer to that is, instead of pretending or faking it till you're making it, be curious. So like, this podcast is a perfect example of that. My goal is to have people on here that are like-minded, that are in the real estate industry, that know things that I don't know, and to be curious, to ask you questions, to have a conversation around it so I learn. And that, to me, is very valuable to people. So, 100%. Hey, I was curious on commercial real estate. So I went and did this conference. I sat down. It was $200. I was there for 3 days or 2 days or whatever it was. Here's what I have to report back, right? That's hugely beneficial, rather than saying, I'm a commercial real estate agent. I sell $1 million buildings every day. It's like, no, you're not. And you don't look like it because you're not. So there's a way to be curious rather than to fake it, right? And I think that's super important. For me, that's like a takeaway for people if they are trying to lean into this stuff and make it a little bit easier. Be curious and report rather than trying to, be something you're not.
Yeah, documenting your story, right? You mentioned Gary Vee. Like, that was probably one of the main things that always stuck with me when I first started, kind of consuming his content back in probably 2014, 15, was I don't have to be smart or brilliant or talented. I just need to show people what I'm doing. Right. And I literally showed up with camera people in 2014. Imagine that. And it was super weird and it was super awkward, but I'm watching who I felt was the best in social media at the time. Like, I remember having like a binder. This is really, really telling you how long ago this was. I had a binder, and in the binder was basically, it was like my version of a vision board, but my vision board was a binder. And the binder had Michael Jordan, Jay-Z, Kobe Bryant, Tom Brady, and Gary Vee. Right. Like that was my binder.
Yes.
And each like separator had notes around why I admire each individual and the aspects of their character that I wanted to somehow try to develop in my own brand.
I'm getting like chills, like, because that's like so important.
I bring it up because if anybody knows me, my work ethic is Kobe. My confidence is Michael. My skill set is Gary. My relatability is Jay-Z. My focus is Tom Brady, right? Like my business brand has been very intentionally built on those 5 individuals. And at the end of the day, you have to know that. Like you have to, it goes back to the passion, promise, plan situation, right? Like I know the things that make up who I am. And so it's easy for me to process situations and then also remove myself from situations that's not necessarily my wheelhouse. And it's like the saying is stand for something or don't stand for anything, right? Like if the fear in a person being uncomfortable with exposing themselves on social media is usually because they don't know who they are.
Right.
That's what makes people afraid. My advice is go find out who you are. Create your binder. Like do your own internal research. Establish your personal pillars, your personal passion, your purpose, the reason. Take the oh my goodness. What's the Japanese test called? Anyway, I can't think of it.
I don't know.
But anyway,
I'm usually pretty good with that
There's
stuff.
a Japanese philosophy, and the philosophy basically breaks down all the different aspects of what intrinsically motivates humans to perform in certain aspects of their life.
I think I have a book on it.
And it starts with a why. I don't know why I can't
think I have a book
I
on
talk
it.
about it all the time, but it's like those moments where you just
for sure.
can't. But my bigger point is go and spend some time with yourself.
Yeah.
And learn who you are. And I promise it will change everything. But that requires like you slowing down to move fast. Nobody wants to slow down. That's a big problem, right? Like just stopping and spending a couple hours in the morning to think about like, what value do I bring into the world? Like, how do I want to show up in the world, right? And so I feel like because business is happening, children are happening, wife is happening, like all these things that require us to be active and quick, it doesn't give us a chance to really investigate our own self. And I think that's why it's a struggle to put content out there.
Yeah, I think that's all awesome stuff. I'm getting like chills, like just going through all this. The binder, the notebook is genius. I think it's especially, and again, I don't want to sound sexist by any way, but just as a young male, and then now hopefully like, I think I'm past the young stage now. Just like my birthday's this week, right? But like, I think a lot of like young men specifically are a little bit lost, and it's important to, and I can only speak for myself. So maybe women feel the same way. I don't want to sound wrong here, but I guess what I'm saying is like, it's okay to have these mentors, and it's okay to make them Michael Jordan, or it could be the guy at the coffee shop. Yep. It doesn't matter what traits attract you. Are you thinking about working towards becoming the better version of yourself, or are you just okay with floating through life? Well, I'm this way, or this bad thing happened to me, or, my life was just started off in a different path than everyone else. So because of that, I am this. Right. It's like you can be whatever you want, but you have to think about what that's supposed to be. For me, the biggest change, like as a kid, I hated reading.
Okay.
I was like always, I want to be outside. I want to be talking to people.
Right.
I was always outgoing.
So you're a communicator.
I was always selling stuff. So I literally at my mom's antique shop would like draw pictures. I was a horrible artist, but I want to sell something. And she was selling stuff. So I draw a little picture of like a face and I'd be like, okay, 10 cents. Right. I'd sit outside, literally on the sidewalk. I'd be like, okay. I'd be like, I'll sign it, but I need a quarter. That was the upsell, right? Yeah. I always loved to sell. So I literally tore my neighbor's flowers out of the garden and try to sell it to my other neighbor. Like literally did that. I think like Gary Vee's got that same story. I was like, I did that same thing as a kid. But I think what the idea is for me, the reason for the story is I hated reading. School was like always not that crazy difficult for me, but I never want to sit down and read. I just was too restless. I wanted to be doing stuff, you know? Yeah. And so I hated reading. My dad would literally try to pay me as a kid to read. He's like, I'll pay you to read this book. You know, I'll give you, if you read this book, you get $5, whatever. And I just didn't want to do it. And so anyway, long story short, many years ago now, I got into reading as an adult, and it had to be that early morning, because if I didn't do it on a habitual basis, I wouldn't do it. Mm-hmm. And that reading had exposed me to different people, and that reading and journaling now, I don't do as much as I should, but reading and journaling combined in the morning has allowed me to formulate that opinion of myself, which I think is super important, and that then translates into my real life. Do you have other habits? Like, so the journal is awesome. Anything else that you can think of that people can use to hopefully move in this direction? Because I think that's what life's all about. Yeah,
so I thought of the term. The Japanese philosophy is ikigai.
Ikigai, yeah, I got a book on it. Yeah, that's it. Yeah. I was thinking
that was gonna bug me. Yeah. I literally just did a whole corporate presentation on ikigai and building culture inside of the workplace. I have so many habits. Yeah. Like so one of my weird habits that I'll put out there on your show is that I write on the wall in my shower. So I literally went on Amazon and researched clean, removable. I
get my best ideas in the shower. That's genius.
Exactly.
That's
I'm like,
so smart.
I'm so tired of going in the shower with this and having these incredible
I get out
ideas.
Sometimes. I type on my phone.
That's what I used to do. But then sometimes it's like even from the time that I actually clean my body and then get out the shower, the idea isn't there no more. So I went on and I found these crayon type of things that will just wipe off easy. I ordered a ton of them, and now I have this shower, and I'm not married or I'm not with anybody, so
it's not insane to walk in.
Nobody's
my wife
judging me.
My wife won't let that fly.
I was about to say you might get some pushback, but my wall in my shower is literally filled with tons of notes. It's filled with tons of affirmations. My goals, the things that I want to carry out. Like if I have an awesome or brilliant idea, like I write it down. But that's something that I've done for probably the last year and a half, maybe 2 years. And sometimes it's a great idea. I write it in the shower. Once I write it, I don't need to remember it. So it's like it vanishes out my brain. Sure. I'll get in the shower like 2 weeks later and I'll just be whatever. And I'll look and I'll see it. And I'm like, oh, I got to do that. So I'll get out and I'll make it happen. But I think it's important, whether it's in your shower, whether it's sticky notes around your house, on your office. I am a very visual practitioner. Like I am a person who I need to see it, because if I see it, I will continuously go after it. Right. And so I put those notes to myself and those words and those phrases. Like every time you see me, I am wearing something that speaks to my future self and what I want to become. Words are powerful, and it doesn't matter if you're looking at it or if you're saying it out of your mouth. I feel like it's important to keep those things like front facing. It's also an incredible way to start conversations. Like this hat.
Right. You walked in, first thing says, sick hat, man.
It started, so I've had it for probably a month and a half, and I've probably started at least 100 conversations. Right. Like at a minimum, I've started 100 conversations just based on. So it's like I'm constantly trying to figure out ways to put my thoughts in places where I can see them. So I think that's a good habit for people to get into. Another thing I recently done is I read Miracle Mornings.
It's a good one.
Are you familiar with that book?
Yep, I read it.
And so that's put a few things in place. One of the biggest takeaways from that book was I spend 2 minutes every day breathing. Like I just breathe. It's the hardest thing to do ever.
Yeah, exactly.
And the book says like 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Like,
it's insane.
Doing 2
Sit with yourself for
minutes.
10 minutes if you don't do it back home. Just try to sit still for 10 minutes.
Sit
complete,
still
no
for-
phone, nothing. Sit still for 10 minutes and just think.
it's so hard. It's so hard.
It's
And
so hard. Why is that so hard?
It's crazy. And that's the whole,
It's so
it goes
hard.
back to the slowing down thing.
Yeah.
So I do a call on Friday. It's called Friday at 5. I started that in 2024. And for me, like anything that a person sees me do across like my social media or that I announce, 80% of the time it's for me. And what I've learned is a lot of things that's for you is for a lot of people, right? So I wanted to be more accountable. I wanted to prove to myself that I can consistently get up on a Friday. Fridays are historically hard for you to get up early because it's like the end of the
Friday.
week. So it's like if I can pick one day to make sure I'm up at
Self-love.
like 4:30 in the morning, it's going to be Friday. And that's the hardest day to do it. And if I can get other people to do it with me, like that would be cool. So I started Fridays at 5. We've done it every single Friday since the first Friday of the year.
Wow.
I overslept one Friday. And when I got on Zoom for the call, there was 45 people waiting. I'm not exaggerating. Those people out there, I love you, and like you have a place in my heart.
Yeah, because they didn't just
they didn't go back to sleep. It's like 5:23. I'm
Right.
still not on the call, and they're in a waiting room
Yeah.
waiting for me to come on. So that sucked, but it was also amazing at the same time. But anyway, I bring up Fridays at 5 because over the last month and a half, I've transitioned the call from like an accountability call, like a check-in call. Because what I found out is, although people are willing to get up that early, they don't want to talk. They don't want to be on camera.
Yeah, they'll be in the
They're
hoodie.
here to
like,
listen. Yeah, they're here to listen and like get a good start to their day. And so it turned into me coaching. And so now I'm leaning into that. So in 2025, I'll announce a complete new transition of that call into something completely different, but more in a coaching realm. But what I was going to say is the thing that I introduced that I think has been the most game-changing is we open the call with like 2 minutes of silence and breathing. And everybody on the call is like, wow, like this is crazy. But it came from Miracle Mornings. And that was one of the things that we did early on was every 2 weeks, I introduce a new book. And so now it forced me to go and read the book.
Yeah, you gotta be on
or I have to at least do my research on the book so that I can come and deliver the Cliff, what I call Rob Notes. I deliver the Rob Notes from that particular book. So we read like 30 books over the course of this year, which is amazing.
Yeah,
like
it's
reading
great.
is, that's another
That
way
changed
to
a lot of people's
guarantee
lives if they
money.
weren't doing
Yeah,
that.
absolutely. So
yeah.
those are some of the habits that I've kind of put in place to kind of self-direct and make sure, like you said, mentors comes in all shapes and sizes,
Exactly.
online, offline, right? And so these books become guides to improving our daily activities, creating better versions of ourselves. And Fridays at 5 like really helped me to do that because it was like something I was slacking on for sure.
Yeah, I'm definitely more naturally a night person than a morning person. So evolving to be more of a morning person has not been easy through the years. But when the days that I get up and do my stuff in the morning and accomplish a lot of stuff, the days just feel so much more full. It's an absolute no-brainer if you can try to do it. So Fridays at 5, that's a big one. John from NDL's got the 6 a.m. mortgage call. I put that in my calendar. I might start joining. I know it's just the loan officers, but I just want to jump on and just see what they're saying.
Yeah.
Because it's like, and just to be like, yeah, I'm here, whatever.
You know where that came from, right?
What's that from your call? Is that you got it?
you will, if you got to know me and you started like hearing my philosophies and like my strategies.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that that have
doing the same stuff,
have my remnants kind of sprinkled in. But one of the first coaching sessions that me and John had, so to give context, if you're on social and your goal isn't to drive people to a community, you're doing it backwards, right? And so for someone like John, who I feel is one of the most complete packages from like a personal
peak
branding
performer.
Yeah, exactly. Like he has everything. He has the communication skills, he has the knowledge, he has the resume, right? And so you're showing up on social, but you're not driving, besides your one goal of closing deals,
right,
getting more mortgages, you're not building community in no specific place. And so your content is just content. But when you start creating content that drives people to a place to where you can talk to them collectively, that's when the game starts to change. That's when you start creating brand ambassadorship, you start creating followership, you start creating people who are going to speak your name where in rooms where you're not there. Like, that's branding, right? And so my session with John was about, what can we do to create a space where now you have a reason to be on Instagram, on Facebook, and you can get people to a place to where you can turn these people into true admirers of your work.
Yeah, friends.
You know, exactly, like deep relationships, because you only got a second or two with content and posts and captions. But when you get on a Zoom call where you can really like spend some time giving context, like, that's when the game starts to really change. So yeah,
that's one of the reasons why podcasting is so big. If you can do a podcast that people listen to because you have the right guests or the right interview or whatever, you really get to know that person.
You can get into that person's mind, like into their thought process, like how they approach things. Like, that's when the goals start happening.
With what you just said is huge. So like, that's like a massive takeaway for a lot of people back home, is that's like a marketing genius right now. That's a professional, in my opinion, because a lot of people are just they see the tip of the iceberg, right?
Yes.
And they see the reel, they see the video, they see the picture, they see the whatever written word that gets the engagement, right? But what is the point of that? Where do they go from there? It's like, cool, it's just like instant whatever, which you get a million of. It doesn't mean anything. So what is the community you're trying to build? And I think that takes, if you're trying to sell something, it takes someone from really a customer to a client, right? A customer is like a quick sale occasionally, right? A client is someone that refers you. A client is someone that now has a long-lasting relationship with you. And I think in the industry, or for John's case or my case or a lot of people's case, is a big portion of the industry stuff is to create these relationships within the industry to help the whole industry grow. And when the whole industry grows and you know you're a winner, then your business will grow, your personal brand will grow, you'll feel better, and that's a lot of the again, accountability. So
and the social proof.
It's it.
Right? It's everything nowadays.
So it all ties in, because John's a good dude, and if you're a good person and you want to put yourself out there and you want to help other people grow, which I think everyone should if they're good people, which I think 90% of people, 95% of people are good people, then that's what that was like. Honestly, genius. Like I really like that.
Well, and then he's doing it already. You're doing it already.
You're already spending the time for like the hard part, and then you don't even like do the fun part,
bro. Like so many people would fall into your bucket. Right. And I'm not not to put you on the spot, but like the people that work with you, the people in your office, the people that know you, know how you kill it. Like they know that your ideas are genius level, right? But what happens is, in most cases, is that what's happening online is now what people perceive to be the reality. Right. So if we don't see it online, then it's not possible. Like, it can't be true. Right. Like, even if people are saying like, bro, you got to get to know him. Like, he's amazing. Right. If it's not something that I can go and click and research and see it, then it's like, maybe not, but I need to see it. And so what clicked for John, and what clicks for a lot of CEOs that we work with, or founders or whatever, is that it doesn't make sense to not document what you're already doing. Right. Like, you're doing it. Like, John in his office would have these mind-blowing speeches and presentations. And I'm just sitting there like, holy crap. Like, this dude just killed it.
No one's got a camera. Like, what are you doing?
Exactly. Like, how are we not capturing these moments? And you know what was the biggest, and hopefully John don't mind me putting this out there. I know he don't, otherwise I wouldn't say it. But
you'd be hard pressed to offend that guy.
We probably did 8 to 10 sessions. And when I'm doing sessions, it's not like the traditional like coaching session, right? Like, I am building a deep relationship with the individual, and I am understanding what's natural for you. Because if it's not natural, then it's going to be harder for me to get you to change your habits, right? And sometimes that means that we have to figure out, how can we add a skill set to your formula in order to create the success that we're looking for. The tweak that we made which we've talked about, was that his videographer became his social media manager, which wasn't the setup. It was a social media manager. It was the videographer. Yeah. But who knows you better than the person that follows you all the time?
Right, and can see it all the way through.
And can understand your voice. Right. They know your habits. They know when you're in a good mood, when you're in a bad mood, when you feel like filming. Exactly, like he was the original, right? Like he kind of started the wave. So when we made the switch of making his videographer his poster, like the person that actually put the content on this platform, oh my God, it was like...
We were literally just talking about this the other day with some of our stuff, because we have again, I always call it balling on a budget, right?
Yes.
So we have different people that do different stuff, and it's like, okay, this person writes the script, I shoot the script, this person posts the script, then this person manages. It's just like, it's not congruent all the way through. So you miss like, oh, if we made this one tweak, or if I edited this instead of doing this different. So I think that project-based stuff all the way through can be very beneficial in the marketing world.
It's like telephone too. It's like, if you just missed him to him, now the substance of like...
Yeah, and I'll look at something like, I'm just so mad because it's not what we originally intended, and geez, and you put all this work in. But I think you're right, documenting over create, like for John's company and companies like it. So our team trainings, this is one thing I probably need to push on in the foreseeable future. Right now, we do a Tuesday training every week, and they're good, solid trainings. Every single one is beneficial. They're between 15 and 30 minutes in a presentation format, and then there's Q&A after, and we film it. So we film it, we post-edit it, and then we post it on our internal operations manual so that people can then research it and see it within the company, right? And so one thing that I want to start doing, I'm like, we say some fire shit on Tuesdays. Like we're really putting out some good stuff. And I'm like, we need to just start going live, because like we can still document it and put it in the operations manual so it lives for forever within the organization. But I kind of want like other agents. I want other brokerages to see like, okay,
you're trying to grow.
Like your brokerage does, trainings every once a week, right? And I'm like, okay, so watch my trainings, watch their training, and pick. I'm not saying I'm for sure better, but like at least they have the option. So if you put it out there, they can then see it, then it becomes reality, then they can decide.
And that's true agent attraction. Right. Like we've been talking about it the whole conversation. Like if you're on social, there should be two probably primary goals. The one is to build community. Like it's not about followers anymore. Right. As a matter of fact, getting somebody to follow you is hard these days. Like it is a complete, like I have to have a reason or like an affinity for you for me to hit the follow. It's easier
for me to sell $1 million house than to get a follower.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, literally. A person will click on your link and buy your service or product,
but they're not gonna follow
they won't follow you. Like we're in the craziest, most weird world ever. So followers is not synonymous with conversions, right? The second thing is you have to become magnetic, which means that you can't become magnetic if you're not putting the magnetic aspects of yourself or your company on display. Right. And I feel like when you talk about what you guys do, to me, what you're saying is my culture is better than your culture. Right. Like that's what that translates to. And people will leave because they want to be in the best atmosphere that they possibly can. You're going to put me in an atmosphere where I'm having fun, I'm learning all this stuff, I'm around cool people. What people struggle with though is showcasing that culture. Like everybody struggles with that. And it's not easy. I tell my team all the time, like we do one in-office meeting a week. I don't require nothing of my people except you make sure you take care of your account and you show up to the Wednesday meeting for an hour and a half. Those are my only two things that are non-negotiable. Right. You know why I make them come to the meeting on Wednesday? Just give me a random guess, like the first thing that comes to your mind, why I make them come to the meeting on Wednesday.
I mean, accountability, but then like the real answer probably is culture and to have some fun and get to know each other.
I want people to see that we're having fun and getting together. Like that's literally the main reason. And it's my understanding of social. People pay attention to us and enjoy the fact that we're enjoying each other.
Yes.
It's like, how they like each other.
Like we throw like 200-person parties and stuff, and we do some content around it, but we should do more because like we throw huge parties, we have fun, our clients come out. We have like our grand opening, we had almost 400 people come out, and like that's wild. Like
when I seen all those people, I was blown away.
400
like,
people came out because like they just like us. Like that's it. And this is not like friends and family. Like 80% of them were clients.
Bro.
Like it was nuts. And I was like, I felt so like I was like, my wedding was this year also, which was very loving and awesome. The grand opening was like there's more people there, and at my wedding showing love, and I'm like, people really like.
I want to give you your flowers. Like I want to on your show give you your flowers. You are probably, and I do my research. Like I'm a social media ninja, right? You are probably, in my opinion, the only broker that I know that can be as successful as you have with the amount of social media activity that you have, which means that there is something that you do incredibly well that could 10 times your current business. Yeah, like it is an absolute fact. If your personal brand isn't being leveraged and yours isn't in a way that it could, and you're doing this well, imagine what could happen. This is the conversation I had with John, the exact same one. Like you are leaving massive amounts of opportunity on the table. And when it clicked, like in the next year, now I'm gonna be modest. In the next 2 years, I see John being one of the most well-known figures in the state of Michigan, like for sure. Maybe even beyond. But I would
argue John has the potential, just to give him his flowers, to be one of the number one industry people in the country. And
that's what the industry in the country for sure. I'm saying people. Yeah, I'm saying known figures
for sure in Michigan.
Like in Michigan, I'm talking about like crossing over all industries because he has all of the intangibles that a lot of people like. You can be talented and great, but you might not be a great speaker.
But he'll tell you why though. So like John is not this superhuman, although he kind of is. He like doesn't really sleep at all. Yeah. But like other than that piece,
we're on Whoop together, so I'm actually watching his
that's some BS. Like
he literally sleeps 3 hours.
I need my sleep, so he does have a superhero tendency from there. But like he'll tell you, he's like, I've worked really hard on my speaking skills. I've worked really hard at putting my, like ask him the first time he had to speak at his old company, right? Yep. And ask him how that went. And it went horrible. And this is what I did. And I leaned into it. I wanted to grow and get better. It's that growth mindset.
Coaches.
And for me, just to add to what you said, because I think it's true. I think there's definitely a lot that we need to lean into as a brokerage from a personal brand. But when you say, leaning into my personal brand and showing our brokerage, for me, it's like my people. Because I know no one has a Stephanie Lopez. She's the best operations manager in the game. I've met all of them. I don't care. Show me someone better. Yes, they might be further along. Yeah. She's on it. Yeah. And then I have Nimish Patel, who is my sales manager. I mean, he's the best buyers. Like you couldn't learn from a better person, specifically with buying houses. Right. Then it just doesn't.
I just want to see you online saying that.
It doesn't exist. It doesn't exist.
And now you have the clip.
I have the clip. But that's why it converts, because when I'm talking to a client, I know that to be fact, right? And so the client buys that because I'm not like lying. It's not bullshit. It's like this is the reality. So you can go somewhere else, but this is what you're gonna get with us. Yes. And I know that this person's the best. I know that this person's the best. I know that this person's really, really good. They're not quite the best yet, but I'm overseeing them. So because of that, you're in great hands. Yep. So when you say that on a one-to-one basis, it shows that's why we've sold 600 homes in a couple of years, right? Yeah. But like when you put it out there, it's a whole different. I'm getting like chills. I'm like, I'm getting fired up when you do that.
Bro, we just did is we just unlocked what you're passionate about. And clearly you're passionate about your people. Yeah. And I feel like when you're passionate about other people, it's harder to put yourself in the limelight. Sure. And I feel like with that, there is just a different approach. It's just a slight tweak. And so when I put you on camera, I'm going to make you talk about your people, because when you start talking about your people, your veins come out of your head, your hands start going crazy, your voice goes up. It's like, your passion, the question that I said that starts everything, is people. It's more probably specifically the people that are a part of your team.
So everyone on my team knows that my goal, my passion. So I had answers to all that right away, like that, instantly. But my passion is to create leaders who create leaders. That's like, it's as simple as I can boil it down in life.
Yep.
And that, for me, that would mean, of course, to start with like me becoming the person that can help do that, right? That's where it starts. But
It's
if I can create
100%.
leaders who create leaders, then like when I die, it's all worth it.
Yeah, and leaders lead by example.
Good leaders, I should say, not just like.
Yeah.
Okay, real quick, where can people find you? Then I have one quick question because we're kind of running out of time here.
Yeah.
One quick question is, you have a new space coming soon,
Yes.
right? I'm not crazy.
soon.
Okay. I don't want to I was like, I hope that's still happening because I saw it a few times.
Absolutely. Yeah.
New space coming soon. Then where can people find you? Like a quick 30-second pitch of those two questions.
Yeah, so new space in Corktown, the social media store.
Corktown, Detroit. For those of you who don't know,
Corktown, Detroit.
which is an awesome part of Detroit. It's
Yes,
great.
Yes,
great
absolutely
area.
awesome part. Social media storefront where individuals can walk in real time and get any social media related need solved on the spot.
That's
as well as
epic and genius, by the way.
Content creation, reels, ads,
Yeah.
you name it, we could do it for you. That is coming soon. The build out is out of my hands. Certs, all these different things that's needed.
I pray for you on that.
I was about to say, like, you would know it better than me, but you know, timing is everything, and it will happen when it's supposed to, and I'm okay with that. People can find me at Robert Courtney Collins on every platform. I've tried to be as consistent as possible for people to be able to locate me. So any trending platform, I look at the top 10 social media platforms every morning, and I try to make sure that I'm on there in presentation, maybe not in a lot of content, but you will see a bio and a polished, up-to-date profile picture.
Another hack.
And a pinned post that gives you as much information as I can about who I am and what I do.
Right.
So,
I really, really enjoyed it, man. Like, actually,
Yeah.
this we got to do this one again because there's so
Fire.
many other. I could stay here for 3 hours and really dive deeper into it. So thanks so much for coming out. Looking forward to staying in touch. Obviously, you're a wealth of knowledge, and keep up the hard work, and you're making a lot of people's lives better. So that's what it's all about.
Thank you. Look forward to doing it again.
All right, thanks, man.